Hi there, it is 4:06 and we are calling the meeting to order. I think on the list we have letters and communications to the board. Mr. Lawrence?
Most of those are newspaper articles, and I believe everyone's probably seen them at one point or another, but if, in case you haven't, it's just kind of updated of what's gone on, either what we discussed or some other things there that get caught up on. But I think all board members really, to some degree, know a little bit about those, nothing exceptional.
Did anybody have anything they wanted to comment on or questions to ask? Everybody's good? Okay. We have two sets of meeting minutes, March 10th and March 31st. Mr. King?
Yep, I reviewed both and they are, I assume you want to approve both together, so I would move that we approve both. I found them to be in order.
Okay. Is that a motion?
That is a motion, yes.
I'll second.
Perfect. All right, clerk, call the roll.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Quirk-Pickman?
Yes.
Ms. Terminelli? Ms. Terminelli?
Oh, there she is.
At a reception.
Yes, okay. Ms.
Yep.
Whitten?
Yes.
Carried.
All right, next we have reports. We have facilities committee report. Is that Mr.
Yep,
King? Mr. Lawrence?
Yep, I can, yep. And we had a short, I guess it was a week ago or so, we had a committee meeting and we discussed a couple things. We had an update on the AEAS and where that status was. I assume you'll hear that today. And then the other thing was moving forward the elevator, which we'll work on today. So that was our committee meeting.
Sorry. So I guess, did anybody have any questions on that facilities meeting? Anything to add? Okay.
And I'm assuming we'll hear AES update at some point or no?
No, nothing, not much.
Nothing to change. Okay.
No.
So we're basically waiting on some approval, I believe.
Yes.
Not in our hands at the moment. So
That's correct.
All right. So Chris isn't here, but Patty, do you want to take the finance committee report or?
Shall I go right into the financials because they'd be next?
I think so. That's fine with me.
All right. We had a finance committee at the end of March. We went over the February financials that we'll be going over today. The chairman of the committee asked if there was a possibility to see what a sources and uses report might look like as opposed to some of the reports that we have. I did give him a draft of one that he is looking over right now, and we'll see if he likes that better than anything we're using right now. But otherwise, we just went through the financials and I will do a high level for everyone. If we look at the statement of financial position, our accounts receivable are at 306,000. We have 88.4% of the open AR is either current or 1 to 30 days. So most of our AR is still coming in quite on time. We have 2 tenants we're working with right now who are a little bit behind. If we go down to our construction in progress, that's another asset we have. These are projects that are not completed. When they are completed, they will become fixed assets. The largest construction in progress is the Tiger Grant painting and rehab project at 19.4 million that we should have closed out for year end. So that will disappear and then the construction in progress will almost be in half. Our accounts payable, we separate them out into regular, retirement, and the Tiger and Bridge repair because the invoices were so large. For this coming fiscal year, we will change that to simply be all project accounts payable to separate that out from our regular. Our regular accounts payable were 496,000 at February 28. Our retirement was at 285, and our Tiger grant was at 32,000. The 32,000 has been paid. 150,000 has been put against the retirement, and our biggest payables are listed on page 2, and all of them, including E-Transit, have had payments made or we're waiting for FAA approval in order to finalize those payments. Are there any questions on the balance sheet? If not, I will just do a quick look at the budget to actual. On our income for bridge revenue, you'll notice right at the top that the monthly actual looks extremely high. That is because our PPP has been forgiven. So once it's been forgiven, it can become income. It was being held in a liability account because it hadn't been forgiven. So that's what's bringing that number up so high. Otherwise, most of our income is right on target, a little bit ahead, which is always good. And of course, the wind turbine project for the 21-22 fiscal year did not happen. Our expenses are, for the most part, they're balancing out, even though some are a little higher, others are lower. Our fuel income, which you can see above, is 185. It's offset by the fuel expense of 150. So that means we are making some money on our fuel sales out at the airport. It's mostly general aviation that is getting the benefit of the fuel we have. Are there any questions on the budget to actual?
No, thank you, Patty. I appreciate that. Sounds like it's pretty stable. All right, Sam, you're back. So if you want to take over the bridge.
Blame it on you, right?
That mean things are gonna get worse or?
It's all you, buddy.
Bridge traffic.
Okay, so we're good with that? Bridge traffic report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. March was pretty much in line with what we've seen in January and February. The percentage change is kind of similar there, although it did improve a little bit. The one note was that all other crossings improved over the normal year that we compare it to 2019, where you see a 2% increase. I believe some of that was a makeup for the issues that were going on in Canada, that there was some pent up shipment demands, and I believe that had a factor in that. But overall, the picture was pretty much the same. And you see there were revenue there where it was approximately what, 83,000, I believe, that we were down in revenue over 2019. I do want to talk about the last week from, well, the past 6 days, April 1st to April 6th. We've had some encouraging news in that the percentage change is only down for that period over a normal year, 2019. We normally we'd had 8,800 cars, and for last week we had 5,700 cars, which is a percentage down. It's off 35%. So that's a big change for this week. Of course, you all know that was probably, there was a lot of demand to get over here. So, but Patty and I were talking maybe with Easter, and so forth. April may turn out to be kind of maybe in the same mode, probably not as good percentage wise as this. But we also noticed what hurt this a little bit when you think about it is truck traffic was down, but the reason for that was when you're comparing 2019 went from a Monday through Friday. So that was all truck traffic. In this past week, 2 of the days were weekends where you don't get the truck traffic. So you can explain that. We had roughly 1,000 trucks in this period. And in 2019, we had 1,400. But when if you were to add in regular days, it's probably right in line with that. So nothing kind of to worry about there. But in revenue, just so you know, we took in roughly 28,000 in 2019, and this past week we took in 21,000. So it's encouraging. We're going to wait and see, but I just wanted to give you an idea of, I'm sure you would, I was curious too to see really, and Patty said they did notice it from the income that we got over the weekend with the toll collectors. Any questions on bridge traffic?
Didn't we, in the budget, consider that we'd be at 60% of 2019 traffic?
Yes.
So
So we're doing better than that so far.
So far,
yes. So if we're at that number or better, it'll bode well.
Good.
But yeah, you're correct on that.
Thank you. Any questions regarding bridge traffic? Nicole?
Nope, Steve answered it before I was going to ask. That's what I was anxious to hear about was the past week. So thank you for being prepared ahead of the fact.
Where'd Megan go?
Oh, I'm still here.
Oh, I can't see you. Thought maybe you're waiting for me to leave.
No, I'm still here.
Just to note that our board attorney is on by phone, I believe, Ms. Jen.
I'm here. Yeah, thank you.
And
Good.
she'll be joining us. She's got 2 things going on at once, so,
Okay,
but she is paying attention to us by phone.
she always does. Airport activity report and occupancy, please.
Okay, the occupancy report has not changed from last month. We only have 1 hangar that is unoccupied right now, but folks are showing interest. I really hope that we can get something in front of the board by next month. The activity report, of course, is not what we like. We've only had 31 flights this month as opposed to 45 in January because of the reduction from SkyWest. Although the good news is they've announced that they're adding 4 more flights per week starting in May.
So they're doing 7 right now,
Mm-hmm.
and they're gonna add 4.
Mm-hmm.
7 and 4 is 11, and the contract calls for 12.
Yes,
So they're still not abiding by the contract.
no, not yet.
Okay.
But that is our count, 703 in plane passengers for this month.
And that was 45% load factor, which is higher than it has been in January or February.
Correct, but fewer flights.
Right.
So
Right.
the flight is for, no, excuse me, has more.
So we're running about, where are we, 2,000, a little over 2,000 passengers in 3 months?
Yes,
Times 4 doesn't give us,
no, not yet.
no. Okay. Anything else? Anyone have any questions, Stephanie? Now we'll move on to the port activities report. Steve?
I kind of fell behind on that, so I don't have anything in front of you, but I can say that as you all know, we've received, we have a steel project where we're storing structural steel, and we just had our first shipment going out, and then we are planning to have shipments going out by rail within the next month. So it's all new to us, but that's a good one to have. Also, just to fill you in, we will have 2 wind turbine projects, and the first project's cargo is expected. We're expected to see one ship around the 23rd of April and another one right behind that on the 26th, and then possibly, I believe it's 3 more the month of May. So they'll all be usually 2 or 3 day events. So we'll be quite busy, but we're real busy planning for that. And then as far as grain goes, it's kind of been kind of slow. We are replacing some stores, but not at the rate that we did last year. But that's reflective of the things that you know that's going on with that. But we have had a number of interests, a lot of logistics, grain people wondering about, just asking about our rates and things like that, but no commitment yet. I believe that's it for the productivity report.
So out of 148,000 square feet available, we're 82% occupied.
Pretty much there's something in actually some of that used to be just storage area that we've taken over just for excess storage of grain.
Do you remember the last time we've been at that point at this point in the year?
The only thing I'd say, we were a little more crowded last year at this time, but other than that, in the last 2 years, no, we haven't been anywhere near that.
Good. Anything else?
That's it.
Dave, any questions on that?
Nope, sounds good.
Jen, you're on that committee.
Sounds good.
Good. Anyone else? Nicole? Megan, any questions?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay,
Thank you.
well, thank you. The building activity, yeah, occupancy
Get
report.
ready, everybody. Great. I'm pleased to report that it's going to look mostly the same as it did last month. So we're remaining at or near capacity, focusing on the Commerce Park campus and the Bridge Administration Building, which we're in right now. Just to explain some of the available spaces, so you'll see that it's not 100%. So Building 1 has currently 2 offices. That's the last of the empty spaces. And that's anticipated to become occupied by the relocation of a current tenant from another building. Okay, which I'm happy that it's increasing their presence in the Commerce Park. And then hopefully a new tenant that we'll further discuss later on in the meeting under other such matters. Okay, and then Building 4, the last of the empty spaces, approximately half of that was previously unrentable, unusable space. That's hopefully going to be merged into an existing lease renewal. And then the other half is a nice office space that we've been strategizing on potential uses and tenants. And actually that relocation of Building 1 from Building 4 occupies a small portion of that large office. So it's just their current positioning isn't conducive to leasing that entire space. So that was the driving force for the relocation. And then as well as discussions on their further growth with us.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions of Anthony? Nicole, Megan, any questions for Anthony? You're gonna let him off that easy?
Jeez, come on.
Trial by fire.
Jeez. Anthony, anything else?
I don't. And that's all
That's
built
it,
on
eh?
work from all the folks that have been here, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Lawrence, any unfinished business?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, let's move right into business items. A1,
Mr. Chairman, item A1 is the approval and purchase of a John Deere zero-turn lawnmower. In the report, you see the authorities had 2 John Deere lawn tractors that are over 11 years old and have been used daily by the grounds crew during grass cutting season. They're they've just become unreliable, but they're still functioning. They still work. They have a snow blower, so we are using them in the wintertime, but we feel it's necessary to upgrade our mowing capacity. We do have a lot to take care of, and we found we do have a zero-turn Kubota mower, and that's been really efficient, and we wanted to go with that. So in our budget, talking with the CFO, we were able to put aside roughly $8,000 in the budget to purchase this, and so I'm requesting that we purchase this. It's the quote was obtained under New York State Landscaping and Grounds Contract PC 68131, and Casanova Equipment submitted the quote that's under that contract. So for those of you that don't know, our purchasing and a procurement policy allows us to purchase through state contract without asking for other prices, because the contract basically does that for us. And then they also take into account MBE and WBE with that. So basically it helps streamline things. But we are allowed to purchase from vendors that do New York State contract price or better. So we're not just totally locked in. So if someone can do better than that, then we go with that. But Casanova Equipment's in Canton, and we've done a lot of business. They formerly were LaBerge & Curtis, and this isn't the top of the line machine, but it'll it'll do the job for us.
Good. Resolutions in front of you, is there a motion?
Also move.
Motion's been made
Second.
and seconded. Any discussion? Anne Marie, call the roll, please.
Ms. Brookhaven?
Yes.
Mr. Burns?
Yes.
Ms. Terminelli?
Yes.
Ms. Whitten?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Agenda item A2. Mr. Lawrence, or
Yes.
you?
A2 is the approval of an annual maintenance contract with Train, and Train, ever since the building was built, the Ogdensburg Border Station, their system has been in our building, and they've serviced it with a regularity, and they've done a great job. So as part of our requirement as landlord, it's part of our contract with GSA to maintain the heating and cooling systems in there, and with that, Train does that work. This is another contract that was is under New York State contract pricing. So Train has submitted a new service agreement for the period April 1, 2022 through March 31st, 2023 for the amount of $9,034, at less a 3% discount if advance payment is received. So the 2022-23 service agreement is 5.5% higher than it was last year. Should we pay early, then that reduces that overall percentage increase. But that's something we'll have to decide on, Patty, with that. So based on New York State contract pricing, discount, expertise required to perform services, and the historical relationship with the facility, as well as the fact that all HVAC rooftop units and controls and computer control software are manufactured by Train, staff recommends the approval of the agreement with Train.
Resolutions in front of you, is there a motion?
I will move.
Moved,
I'll second.
seconded. Any discussion? Not Anne Marie, call the roll, please.
Mr. Burns?
Yes.
Ms. Terminelli?
Yes.
Ms. Whitten?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Brookhaven?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Agenda item B1.
Approval of lease supplement number 3 with Mac Global Design. It's a tenant in our bridge administration building. Staff has negotiated lease supplement number 3 with Mac Global Design for 368 square feet of office space and room 201C of the bridge administration building for a 16-month period from December 1st, 2021 through March 31st, 2023 at a rate of $12.39 per square foot, which equals $380 per month, or $4,500.60 per year, which includes utilities. All other terms and conditions of the original lease agreement shall remain in full force and effect and are hereby ratified and affirmed.
Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Been made? Second?
Second.
Second.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion? Emery, call the roll, please.
Ms. Terminelli?
Yes.
Ms. Whitten?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Quirk Pittman?
Yes.
Mr. Burns?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Agenda item B2.
Approval of lease supplement number 2 with the State University of New York. So staff has negotiated lease supplement number 2 with State University of New York for 1,054 square feet of office space in room 104 of the Bridge Administration Building for a 3-year period from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025 at a rate of $1,265 per month or $15,180 per year, which includes utilities. Lease supplement number 2 also includes an updated Exhibit A, which is the March 16th, 2020 version of the State University of New York standard contract clauses. All other terms and conditions of the original lease agreement shall remain in full force and effect and are hereby ratified and affirmed. And this is a previously established lease renewal clause that was built into the original contract.
Good. Motion?
I'll move it.
Second?
I'll second.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Emery, call the roll, please.
Ms. Whitten?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Quirk Pittman?
Yes.
Mr. Burns?
Yes.
Ms. Terminelli?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Agenda item B3.
Approval of lease supplement number 2 with Glenda Jones. Staff has negotiated lease supplement number 2 with Glenda Jones for 180 square feet of office space in room 210 of the Bridge Administration Building for a 1-year period from April 1st, 2022 through March 31st, 2023 at a rate of $188.64 per month, including utilities. All other terms and conditions of the original lease agreement shall remain in full force and effect and are hereby ratified and affirmed.
You? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Made? Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Emery, call the roll, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Quirk Pittman?
Yes.
Mr. Burns?
Yes.
Ms. Terminelli?
Yes.
Ms. Whitten?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Agenda item C1.
Approval of lease supplement number 1 with 5G Technologies USA Limited. Staff has negotiated lease supplement number 1 with 5G Technologies USA Limited for 850 square feet of office space in Building 4 of the Commerce Park campus for a 3-month period from April 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2022 at a rate of $6.22 per square foot, equaling $440.58 per month or $5,287 per year. 5G Technologies USA Limited will be responsible for its prorated share of utilities. All of the terms and conditions of the original lease agreement shall remain in full force and effect and are hereby ratified and affirmed. These folks had a 6-month lease to begin with, and we can't yet do a full 1 year or longer lease because they're waiting for the COVID restrictions to ease, which this was negotiated just prior to that. So it's a company with good potential for our park. So this allows for a 3-month extension that essentially continue conversations to secure them as a long-term tenant.
Good. Is there a motion?
Also moved.
Made? there a second?
Second.
You seconded? During discussion? Anne Marie, call the roll, please.
Ms. Christensen?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yeah,
Mr. Manelli?
Yes.
Ms. Whitten?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Motion carried.
thank you. Agenda item D2. Did I miss one?
Yes.
Should be D1, right?
D1 wasn't available at this time. We'll have to deal with it next month. We put it on the list when we sent it out, just hoping we'd receive it, but it wasn't to be, so we will put that on for the May agenda.
Okay. We can do 2 without having to do 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Item D2, Mr. Chairman, is the approval of the bid award for the airport drainage improvement project. Some of you may know and some may not, but in order to get the money for a project, we have to bid it first, and then we submit that bid, the winning bid, to the FAA, and then it's up to them to approve the grant funding for that project. So this is the first part of the process. 3 bids for the airport drainage improvement project were received April 1st, 2022, with a low bid submitted by Parrott Paving Materials, Watertown, New York. The 3 bids received were as follows. You see Barrett at 2.2, roughly 2.2 million, Marcy at 2.5, and Paris at roughly 2.8. So the low bidder was Barrett Paving. As a recap, you'll see how this would affect the bridge report. We have a share, a 2.5 share of the total bid, which is roughly $56,043.83. The certified bid tabs have been reviewed and found to be in order, and based on the contractor's qualifications, experience on similar projects, McFarland Johnson is recommending award of the construction contract to Barrett Paving Materials based on the lowest responsible bid. Staff recommends that the contract be awarded to Barrett Paving for a total of $2,241,753. Just a summary of what that includes. Out there's 2 holding areas for runoff right now. Those will be filled in with common fill and then graded so that the majority of runoff from rainwater and snowmelt will all head toward the Oswegatchie. And along with that, we will be replacing drainage piping, all new drainage piping. It will be made bigger, and it will be consolidated into one outfall. There will be, just so you'll know, when this project goes, there will be an open cut in State Route 812, which will require like traffic lights on each side, and it'll probably be like a 2-week project. But just to make you aware that it's quite, there's quite a lot of logistics involved in that to cross the road. It wasn't a candidate for tunneling or boring or anything like that, so it'll be an open cut. And then once that's in and paved, we'll move on toward the outfall at the Oswegatchie, which it's just going to follow the same route that the existing line is, but it'll be replaced with the larger piping. So just to give you a rough idea what that involves.
Do we have a timeline for this project, Steve? I'm sorry, when does
It'll
this
be
happen?
dependent. We're hoping late summer.
Okay.
When we'd like to get it in this year.
Right.
But given the logistics and there's concrete pipe involved, a contractor at their own risk can go and buy the pipe, but we don't know when to take advantage of pricing and availability.
Mm-hmm.
But we also don't have a hard date as to when we're going to see the grant being approved.
Okay.
Hope it's sooner than later, but a lot going on with the FAA. So,
Right. Okay.
but we are hoping for, I think ideally, our best guess would be late summer and have it all done by the, by time winter comes or, late fall.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Is this over and above the funding we received for the 10,000, or is it part of that?
No, I think this is, how does that work? Is there,
For the arm flanking or
Yes.
AFP funding
Yeah.
for? Yes, this is part of the $1 million a year for the employment.
So this will actually take in 2 years?
no, that it won't all be, the FAA will be funding some of this.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay. Is there a motion
I'll move it.
been made
Second.
and seconded? Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? None. Anne Marie, call the roll, please.
Mr. Burns,
Yes.
Ms. Romanelli,
Yes.
Ms. Whitten,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Pickering.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, thank you. That will bring us to E1. Warren?
Mr. Chairman, I wanted kind of to memorialize and with the help of the board's legal firm, we put together a board memo, basically. We put together a board memo that kind of summarizes where we are and talking about the current suspension of the harbor deepening project. I will read this and we can talk about it afterwards. There's a number of, probably a lot of questions. It does take some thought to get get our arms around all of this and where we're at. So if I can explain this the best that I can, bear with me. Whereas the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority planned a harbor deepening project to improve the port facility and improve economic activity at the port, and whereas the project was to be funded in part by the Continuing Authorities Program, CAP Section 107, and administered through the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and whereas the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers committed $10 million to this project, and whereas the initial cost estimate for this project was $11,300,000, and whereas the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers was solely responsible for bidding the project, and whereas the sole bid received by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers was $27,670,615, and you see the number value in there. Whereas due to the passage of time and increase in the cost of labor and materials, the estimated project cost was revised to $27,670,615. Whereas the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority is responsible for a local share of the total project cost that is equal to the difference between the funds committed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the total project cost. Whereas the excess cost over funds committed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is $11,400,000, whereas the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority cannot commit this extraordinary sum at this time. Whereas the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has withdrawn its funding commitment effective April 1st, 2022, based on the authority's inability to fund the excess cost. And whereas the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority remains committed to the project as it is of great importance to the operation of the port facility. And whereas the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority continues to identify and seek alternative funding for the project. Now, therefore, the harbor deepening project must be put on hold until such time as cost escalations resulting from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers bidding process can be controlled and sufficient funding can be obtained from available sources. A lot to be said there. Part of that, this has been a very important project where we've been taught, it's been in the works since early 2016. We've had our ups and downs with finding funding. As of summer of last year, before the bid, all all the funding was in place to take care of all of the project estimates. And that number was roughly, with our 13 million committed to the port expansion, I'm just talking about the whole project now, the number was roughly $24 million, $24,300, and that was everything, harbor deepening and the port expansion. The New York State DOT committed, and we had some funding, but nowhere near enough, but the US DOT made up the difference. So going into that bid process, if everything held, we felt based on the Corps' estimate and everything, we felt we were right in line with, with the bidding. So they had to bid the harbor deepening project first, and then knowing that we could do the timing and do the port expansion, right? And these projects were not, they were coupled together. They weren't separate. So they were very dependent on what the others, like I said, going into that, the total project cost was roughly 24 million. And after this, they had a sole bidder for the harbor deepening. And after that, the total cost of the project was roughly 42,200,000. So I believe that was almost a 75% increase over that. So project is set up initially with a 35% share. We have a 35% share. The Corps has a 65% share. When we found out that this had all gone up and we knew what we were over budget, at the time, my thought was, well, we have a 35% share in this, and they have a 65% share in the overage. Unbeknownst to me that, and my fault maybe for not understanding Cap 107, but they can only go up to $10 million. So no matter where that number came out, the Corps could only spend 10 million. So the rest is on us. So that was a huge surprise. So here is a process that was all handled by the Corps of Engineers. It was looked at by other district offices. They looked at their estimate. They all came back, everybody, it was their estimate. And my feeling was that, you got this process and you go through all of this and you miss it by that much, just floored me. It's that, this is what you do. And then you give out your, I'll calm down here, but you give out all of, you do all this work, they go in great detail, they have their specs, and they give it to another office to go over their work, and nobody comes back and says, "Ooh, you're missing this." Everything's right in line. And then, granted, it was a sole bidder, but anyway, that's the number they were using going forward from now on. If they felt that this contractor was way out of line, then you'd think you'd move that requested budget line accordingly, but it wasn't done. And so the request was made of the OBPA that in order for headquarters, or Corps of Engineers headquarters, was asking for that money to be returned because we hadn't come up with our share of the additional money. And granted, we've been 5 years on this and it still hasn't moved forward, but and to speak on behalf of the DOT was fine the way things were, but with this extra money, they could not commit monies to a project where they had no control over, and they weren't their specs. They had no insight, neither did we. We were trusting the Corps to be able to do their job. So, you could say, I don't know, if it was a minor amount, be one thing, but who knows that, you commit to that and then you go and bid it and it never ends. And, you all heard stories about, I won't go there, but the project escalations of things when they, with some kind of, with government agencies, get that way. So we agreed in principle with the DOT that we were just going to do the port expansion project. I'm sorry that we didn't, I wasn't able to, this all kind of came up since the last board meeting. So we were, by the request in the letter and everything, everybody, we had the answer by the end of March. So I basically took it upon myself with some guidance from the DOT and the chairman. And we made the governor's chamber aware of what we were doing, and they were in agreement with that. So that's my piece. Anybody got any questions for me? Nicole, Megan, any questions?
No, I think it's pretty unfortunate, but these are the realities we have to deal with.
I would just make a comment and say I'm with you. I can't believe it's been this long and we missed it by that much. Yeah, that's amazing.
Jen?
You know, I will second that. Amazing. 75%.
I don't know if we
increase.
missed it. So.
I will say the individuals that I worked with on the local level with the Corps were very sincere, and they were good to work with. And you know, I don't want to take anything away from their effort. They did the best that they could to try to see this through, but there's some things out there that are larger than both of us on that.
Nicole?
It is definitely unfortunate. I know that this is a project that's been in the works since before I was on the board. I remember reading about it in the paper, and I remember when I took my first tour of the facilities, kind of the excitement that Mr. Lawrence had in sharing, you know, the vision and what it would be like. So it definitely is unfortunate, but hopefully it's something that we will be able to consider again in the future. I do think that is there a revision? I think, Jennifer, there's a revision that needs to be made to the resolution.
Yeah, just a quick tweak, because the 27 million number is in there twice, and it should only be in there the first time, and then the 42 in the second section.
That was my bad.
That's okay. Just before you vote on it, I just want to make sure that it's moved.
Thanks,
with that
Jen.
change made.
So I would make a motion to make that amendment to the resolution.
Okay. There's a second to modifying the resolution to in the second, third, fourth, the sixth paragraph, reading 42 million instead of
42,200,000.
42,200,000. Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor of the amendment to the resolution? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the resolution had been amended. Thank you. Anyone else? No? I'll talk about it. I remember this entire project. I was here on the board in 2016 when this was proposed. I remember in the beginning, the two projects were separate. The dock extension was on its own, and the dredging was on its own. It was the Corps of Engineers that combined them. Why, I have no idea, and I don't think they ever explained that to us. Did that affect the ultimate cost estimate? Maybe. It's hard to say at this point. Again, no, I have no idea why they did that. I do remember a conversation that I had with the members of the Corps and others, including those on staff of federal representatives, when I asked the question, why not increase the $10 million limit? If you remember, last year, the Infrastructure Act was passed and provided, I believe it was billions of dollars into different infrastructure projects. And this is certainly one of them. Why they would not increase that 10 million. They would not even request that from Congress to increase the 10 million because they wanted to spread out the additional funding for other states. That was the reply that I received. Now we have to remember, this started in 2016. That discussion happened in 2021. So for 5 years, this project had been planned. This project was in the process. The Corps had discussed everything with us, with New York State DOT, with the city of Ogdensburg, because of the dredging issues and where it would occur. They were well along on every part of this. So not only were we shovel ready, all the engineering and everything had basically occurred. And then they turn around and give us the excuse that we want to put other funds to other states. As far as I'm concerned, it's a slap in the face to the Bridge and Port Authority and to the state of New York. We are the first port on the Seaway. And they basically said, we don't want to do this project, in my opinion. And they're walking away from it. Can this happen in the future? Let's hope so. But let's understand, several times the state of New York, DOT, and the governor's office has stepped up and offered to provide more funding for this until it got to the point where it almost doubled in cost. Doubled in cost, and the way they went about getting bids, one bid, and never went any further with it, never discussed the bidding process with us or anyone else. And it's just unbelievable that it increased to that amount. And then they come back to us and say, okay, we're capped at 10 million. Bridge and Port Authority in the state of New York, the rest of it is up to you. Totally unacceptable that a federal agency like the Corps of Engineers would do that to this port in New York State in the beginning of the Seaway. So totally unacceptable to me, and I'm sure many others. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth for the Corps of Engineers. I think they've let us down, plain and simple. They've let us down. They've let down all of Northern New York, and they've let down the state of New York, in my opinion. Anyone else? Not? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Anne Marie, call the roll, please.
Ms. Terminelli?
Yes.
Ms. Whitten?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Quirk Pittman?
Yes.
Mr. Burns?
No.
Motion carried.
Thank you. There is an agenda item F1, is that correct?
Yes.
Megan, you still with us?
Under
I'm here, Sam.
Okay, this is under other such matters. I will, there, now we can see you. I will recuse myself because this deals with a family member of mine. So I will actually get up and leave the room until this has been voted on. All yours, Megan.
All right. So Sam, you want to take this one. Sorry, it's not opening. Hang on.
Anthony's handled this one, Megan, so I can
Sorry.
let Anthony take care of
Yeah,
this one.
so it's listed as approval of lease agreement with Live Fast Motors LLC. So we were recently approached by a gentleman looking to open a new online automobile dealership, and he was in need of space, office space. So the space we have in building 1, it's really a limited use space. It's only 103 square foot, 1 single office, which actually would fit his needs quite well. And we did much analysis internally to make sure there was going to be no impact on our current tenants by having him in the space. It's a very limited use, and we didn't see any. So I wanted to bring this to the board's attention and hopefully vote, because securing a suitable location is the first step for him to allow the company to secure their appropriate licenses and get underway. So if I could read the board resolution, staff has negotiated a lease agreement with a new tenant, Live Fast Motors LLC, for 103 square feet of office space in Building 1 on Park campus for a 1-year period from April 1st, 2022 through March 31st, 2023 at a rate of $11.86 per square foot, equaling $101.83 per month, or $1,222 per year, including utilities. And that is essentially the market rate for that space. And that's all I have.
Is that in line with our other tenants and what we would charge per square foot for that space?
Yes, it's actually, we mostly use a CPI adjusted for year to year. So this is actually the CPI adjusted rate if we were to have a current tenant in there already, and if we were to renew them. So this would be the rate to use, whether it was a new tenant or the current tenant renewing.
Is there potential for growth if his licenses go through? Would he need more space?
I would say potentially it would certainly, we need to look further into if he grew in size to a certain level of what we could offer him, at the Commerce Park campus and the nature of his business. But it's certainly the current space and what we have arranged for him would allow him to really get off and running and set him up to be successful.
Perfect. Does anybody else have any questions, comments? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Also move.
A second?
Second.
All right, clerk, call the roll.
Ms. Whitten?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Quirk Pittman?
Yes.
Mr. Manelli?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right. Does somebody want to go get Sam? Let him back in.
No,
Megan.
no.
I'm out.
You're doing a good job, Megan.
Yeah.
Moving along.
Okay. George, anything else?
No, Mr. Chairman, there will be a need for an executive session.
For what reason?
Mr. Chairman, there's a need to go into executive session for matters relating to section 105D, 1D of the Open Meetings Law, discussion regarding proposed pending and current litigation. We anticipate no action by formal vote shall be taken.
Okay. While we're here, so we don't have to rush through it next time, is the next meeting date of May 12th acceptable?
Good for me.
Probably not.
That works for me.
Works for who? May 12th.
It's good with me.
Yeah.
What time? Or
What time's that?
4:30?
What about, do we look at another day? Maybe the 11th or the 5th?
The 5th is early into the month, eh?
I'm not here.
It makes it hard.
Patty won't be here the 5th.
Right.
Is the 11th a better day? Or an acceptable day, I guess?
I can't do the 11th.
I can't do the 11th.
What day could you do, Dave?
Well, I really can't for the week. I'm gonna be gone.
Dave's like,
You guys have a good time if you're gonna do it.
what about the 19th? 19th?
19th, Megan?
1 second.
Following Thursday?
Yep, that works.
Nicole?
May 19th?
Yes.
She said yes, yes.
Yes,
Dave?
yes, I can make, yep, I'll make that work.
Okay.
I'm in.
Okay.
May 19th.
If I can't get
4
out of-
PM?
4 PM. All right. We'll have to check with Tony, please, and Chris. He can be back from, where is he, around the world in 60 days?
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, there is a need for executive session. Mr. Lawrence has given you the reasons why. He does not anticipate any business to be conducted afterwards.
And we got, Andy Gardner is on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Andy. Any questions? Andy?
Explaining that. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Now,
Got you now.
Okay. I kind of got lost when you were explaining how the dredging and the expansion got rolled in together. Because I didn't realize that they were somehow linked. Can you just quickly go back over that, please?
I really don't understand your question. It's how did that get rolled into one? You mean back in 2016? Is that your question?
Yeah. So like at this point, were they still was it still one thing or?
No, at the time it was.
Or am I
what the
misunderstanding
chairman
this?
was talking about, it was two projects, I believe, and I wasn't privy to all of the conversation, but from what I know, when I was here, the idea was that if you rolled it into one project, one contractor might be able to do both of them. That would be instead of having two separate contracts, you might get some efficiencies by having one contractor doing the mob and doing all of that work at once. That was how I remember some of that, but I can't say exactly, but I believe that was the underlying reason for that.
So would it be accurate to say that the core? Sorry?
That's how I remember it.
Would it be accurate to say that the Corps was withdrawing the 10 million from the expansion and the dredging, or just the dredging?
No, we're just talking, the Corps had nothing to do with the port expansion. That all depends on the bridge and port. That's on us. All of that expense was on us. So everything we're talking about here just relates to the harbor deepening part of that. So the 10 million that was being withdrawn is just in relation to the harbor deepening.
The harbor,
We will be moving forward with the port expansion project because we know we have control of that, and so does the DOT, and that we have the majority of that funding in place. Now, when we go out to bid, we encounter the same thing with, but we feel that because it's a land-based type of operation, that we will have more bidders and we will also have more control over costs with ours. But we do have some expectations that costs will escalate beyond the estimate right now is roughly 13.2 for our port expansion part. And based on what we've seen, we won't be surprised if those exceed that, but we're prepared for that.
Okay. Okay, thanks for clearing that up. I appreciate it. That's all I wanted to know.
Okay, thank you.
It's not easy to understand there, Andy, so I appreciate you clarifying everything.
All right, well, thanks again. You guys all have a good night.
You too.
You too. Good night.
Okay, motion for executive session.
Also move.
So made, seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are out of executive session. Mr. Lawrence, any business to be conducted?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Anything else from any of the board members or staff? No, if not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion's been made
Second.
and seconded. All those in favor of adjournment say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned.